Boys, I've got some even more insane leveling tech that I've been messing with over my stream at twitch.tv/bigdust, which you should go follow, by the way. I am streaming in this league. There's still a couple more interesting things to do, but this leveling tech is pretty interesting. This may not be something that you've heard of before. I'm sure some of you have heard about it. It's not like it's anything completely brand new, but there's some pretty crazy stuff that you can do, all the way up to getting to like 30 to 60 added physical damage to attacks at level 1. This also enabled me to basically like level up a tornado shot bow character and pretty much breeze through the entirety of the game, and a lot of other things. Now, I know I haven't put out pretty much anything but like leveling videos and complaining stuff recently, but you will be getting a spectral shield throw build guide sometime in the very near future. Been working on that for a little bit, so look forward to that. But in the meantime, if you are enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I have made a character and gotten it to town just so that I can show you guys how powerful this leveling tech is. Now, warning, pre-warning here. These items are not easy to get. They're expensive. They're relatively hard to make. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are basically towards the end. I know it's only halfway through, but it feels like the end of a dead league. So these items, a little bit hard to get right now, but if you're in a future league or the league suddenly gets some more activity, or you have a bunch of money and you just want to buy these things, they will work. They're very powerful and they're pretty interesting, but keep in mind, a little expensive. So what I mainly want to show you right here is I want to show you a Rigwald's Crest as well as a Death Rush that are corrupted to be able to work at level 1. So the idea here is that on a level 1 character, I have a Tabula, which has just got like Galvanic Arrow, Chance to Bleed, Pierce, Chance to Poison, Onslaught, Elemental Prolift, basically all the things that I can use while I'm level 1, and I've just got a random white bow, okay? So we're gonna go out into the coast. I haven't left town yet. This is the first time doing it. Our DPS is about 17.2. And when we are running around and we'll just fire at some random enemies that I find, you'll see that while we do pretty good damage, it's not like absurd damage or anything, right? It's like, well, uses most of my mana, and it takes like 2 hits to kill everything, and that's with a 6 link on a Tabula. If we go ahead and add in Rigwald's, we will also be adding in a Death Rush, which does the exact same thing here, but I'll add that here in a moment. This is corrupted once again to require only level 0. We are going to be doing substantially more damage. You'll notice that starting out 17.2, or you might notice that we are spawning some wolves, and these wolves do a couple particular things. You'll see that we have 10 of them now, and now our DPS is 68. So we have gotten 4 times the amount of damage that we had previously. However, that's not the only thing. These wolves in particular, especially very early on in the game and level in like the first act, you might notice that they are kind of just one-shotting everything, right? Well, they do a lot of damage to the point where they can basically like global most bosses and most enemies for about the first 2 acts of the game. Now, beyond that, you'll notice that it says the special wolves are granting you additional physical damage with attacks. So the way that this works is that not only does this ring provide you 10 like wolves that are level 50-ish that can do a bunch of damage. It provides you a little bit of mana regen, which helps early on, but it also grants you 3 to 6 physical damage to attacks per wolf, and you can have 10 of them. So it turns out that having this ring equipped in Act 1 is pretty powerful. Now, on top of that, we also have the new Death Rush. This is another ring that we can equip at level 1. It doesn't have any level requirement because we have corrupted off the level requirement. If you don't understand how this is working, it's because these items are 2 stone rings and an amethyst ring, and the level requirement is tied to that implicit modifier. So if you corrupt it to specific modifiers that don't have a level requirement, all of a sudden you can equip them at level 1. So the idea here is that now when we kill things, not only do we get adrenaline for a second or 2, and I mean, if you can find a Death Rush that has 3 seconds, that would be great, but we get a bunch of added damage. We get adrenaline on kill and life, recovery on kill. But these wolves, they're pretty powerful. Like, let's find this guy here. So come on, wolves, get over here and attack him. Oh, he's dead. Never mind. Apparently they killed him without me even really noticing it. But yeah, so that's the idea. These wolves do a lot of damage, right? So all the way up through the first act, when you get to like Mervale or any of the bosses or anything, they're just going to one-shot them pretty much completely. There's nothing that the enemies can really do about it. And on top of that, you are going to be doing a significant amount of damage. And the interesting thing about scaling 30 to 60 physical damage to attacks is that this is going to scale with pretty much anything that you do. Now, one particular way that I scaled it is that I was making this character to be an elemental attack-based build. Now, this is pretty popular these days. There are quite a few elemental attack damage-based builds that you can go for as like a trickster or a raider or something like that. Or even down here at the bottom, you can go like a champion or something. Well, the idea here is that with these elemental damage attack-based builds, you can level up pretty effectively as a bow build with getting a lot of the same nodes. So personally, what I did is I went through here, grabbed ballistics, went to grab aspect of the eagle, came down to finesse, grabbed one with nature, and then just went through kind of like the normal path that you would take for these things. I used a lot of the tech that I talked about in my previous video, like the impossible escape with arrow dancing, as well as brutal restraint to get like the traitor and get some permanent flask going. Another thing that you can do, which is quite interesting, is this Sublime Vision with haste. I actually don't think this is that powerful, but if you are playing a build that doesn't really require any actual auras, and you've kind of got nothing else that's really going for you, this is pretty interesting. 10% action speed is really powerful. So keep in mind that this disables only auras. Things that don't have the aura tag that still reserve mana still work, things like heralds and stuff like that. So this does only disable your auras. I personally didn't really enjoy this too much, especially because there are so many powerful auras out there, but it is something that you can use. However, I did level up this character, right? I just got finished leveling this character over on stream. It has now swapped into like the full, super expensive. I've spent a lot of money on it and it's literally only 68, but I leveled up this character. I don't know how much playtime is on it. Yeah, unfortunately, I left it logged in, but you can check the end of my stream if you really care. I leveled up that character to Act 10 with labs and most of the quests and everything done in like 4 hours, and that was with me like not really taking it super seriously and just kind of like moving around and doing stuff. It does a lot of damage. The way that I did it is that with Stormcloud, with the Wolves, which give you 30 to 60 physical damage, and just things like Crimsorrow or anything that converts your physical damage into elemental damage, whatever you want to use, you can use things like Galvanic Arrow or Lightning Arrow and then just use Fizzed Lightning. You can do a lot of stuff, and then something like Doomfletch, which just gives you gain 100% of weapon physical damage as extra damage of each element. It's pretty powerful, honestly. And another thing that I have been using is that Feastbind is okay early on for some flash charges, especially if you're using any of the flask tech, but honestly, some pretty powerful stuff that we've been using to level elemental damage attack-based characters. Now, that being said, Rigwald's Crest can still be used on basically any character, but it is mainly going to be powerful for attack-based characters. This is just damage to attacks, so it doesn't matter like what kind of attack you're doing. If you're doing like a melee build or a bow build or like any kind of attack-based build, this will still work for it. Same thing with Death Rush. It is just gain adrenaline on kill, and adrenaline is really, really powerful. So all these things combined made for a pretty interesting leveling experience. I've never been able to just like one-shot pretty much everything in the campaign for the most part until like the later acts, basically, with Tornado Shot, with like GMP and Mirage Archer of all things. So pretty interesting experience to say the least. Also, I used this ring, which was kind of fun in the same time, but this is not something that you can reasonably get a hold of. There was only like 2 or 3 of these that even existed when I bought it. If even like 1 or 2 people try to go and buy these rings out, they just won't exist, so don't expect to get this right now. But an Onslaught on Hit ring with a Circle of Guilt on top of all of this other scaling and stuff that we were doing, like converting Fizz to elemental damage and such, was honestly pretty fun. So I spent a decent amount of money on getting all this leveling stuff, but turns out that leveling can actually be pretty fun when you just mess around with a whole bunch of weird tech that does all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, so if you've got some extra money and you want to have some fun leveling your next character, try out doing things like summoning the wolf pack and one-shotting Merveil no matter what you do, essentially. And that is going to be it for the video. I want to give a shout out to my patrons for helping me make each and every single one of these videos. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And besides that, leveling turns out it's pretty fun when you do a bunch of random stuff. I don't really like just doing the same old leveling strat every single time, and Hollow Palm has gotten kind of boring, and like the standard leveling stuff has kind of gotten boring, so I want to do something a little different, and turned out to be pretty good, if a little bit expensive. But remember, boys, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and stay safe out there in Ray class, and I'll see you guys in the next video.